What meeting?
Oh, we're doing, I think we're doing, rules and appointments.
Then you gotta wait 5.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Huh? Oh, afterwards, yeah. Good morning. We call this Personnel Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. First item of business would be the approval of the minutes. It's been moved and supported. Any discussions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Next, we have public comment for any agenda item. Is there any public comment for any agenda item? Last call, any public comment for any agenda item? Seeing none, I move on. We have no rules of business, and this month we have no appointments. Next, we will go into the employment changes. I would refer to Administrator Murphy.
These employment changes, I was just showing you the new hires, the terminations, and any other transfers that have happened within the county over this last month.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, moving on to employee anniversaries. Again, we like to recognize those who have worked with us for a long time. If you have any questions, in the interest of time, we'll continue to move forward. Any other personnel business? Seeing none, we move on to Ways and Means. Finance reports, Administrator Murphy.
Okay, the finance reports are in your packet, and we're going to start with the general fund income statement. Your last set of finances were printed and presented to you as of May 9th, and these are presented as of May 29th. So there's not a lot of significant changes, but I do want to review them with you. So as we go into the governmental funds, you can see that our current revenues to date are just over $6 million, $6.2 million. In comparison to last year's total of $4.9 million at this point in time. So we are about $1.3 million ahead of where we were last year at this time. As far as on the expense side for the general fund, excuse me, I got to get there. We are currently at $16 million in expenditures in comparison to $14.8 million last year, which is a $1.4 million difference. However, I also want to refer you to your monthly your appropriations, where it shows that we have actually increased the appropriation to the capital fund. In the past, we were at $1 million. In this past year, we bumped that appropriation to the capital fund to $3.5 million. So, and that's where the bulk of your increased expenditures to year to date are at. So as we move on then to the fund equity changes report, I'm simply going to talk about the fund categories along with your totals today. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask.
If I might summarize on just one topic, the county's financial position is strong and we are in the black.
Yes, yes, it is very strong. And I know that it gets confusing because when we talk about year to date, we have more in expenditures than we do in revenues. We still have a healthy fund balance. And so we are very much in a good, sound financial condition, which will be shown in your audit in the very near future.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So as we move on to the fund equity changes report, under the governmental funds, as I just indicated, you can see year-to-date revenues of $6.2 million in comparison to year-to-date expenditures of $16.2 million. Again, those will be getting closer, and then the revenues will exceed expenditures around September when the property taxes are coming in. As we go to the fund type special revenue funds, there we're showing year-to-date revenues of $9.2 million in comparison to year-to-date expenditures of $16.8 million. Your total fund type for debt services is shown, and I'm just going to jump right now to your total governmental fund types. Show a total of revenues of 19.4 million in comparison to expenditures of 36 million to this point this year. I will point out that it looks like we have fund balances of over $57 million in that category. As we move on to the proprietary funds, these are more of our business-related type funds. That's how they're run. We currently have year-to-date revenues of just over 10,700,000 in comparison to expenditures of 11,500,000. So a total of all county funds, you have grand totals year-to-date revenues of or just over 30 million in comparison to year-to-date expenditures of about $47 million. So I will try to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions? Anybody? Thank you, Administrator Murphy. Our next item of business is a resolution authorizing the third quarterly allotment of allocations for period July 1 through September 30, 2025. I'll read the brief resolution to give everybody a context. Whereas the 2025 General Appropriations Act provided for the allotment of appropriations on a periodic basis when financial circumstances warrant, and whereas the Lenawee County Board of Commissioners deems that financial circumstances exist whereby the quarterly allotment of appropriations contained in the 2025 general fund budget is deemed desirable, and whereas the financial circumstances dictate that other steps also be taken to contain expenditures during the fiscal year, therefore be it resolved by the Lenawee County Board of Commissioners that the expenditure of the 2025 appropriations as contained in the 2025 general fund budget be established for the period beginning January 1, ending December 31 of 2025, and that the elected and appointed officials responsible for appropriations be so notified. And be it resolved that said county officials shall not cause obligations to be incurred against, nor shall payment be made from appropriations in excess of the amount provided in the schedule. Passed by a roll call vote. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
And we need a roll call for a resolution?
No, just keep in mind, this is actually a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Oh, that's
that would
right.
Be
Forgive me.
placed on the consent agenda if it receives unanimous approval this afternoon.
Of course. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is the farm for the contract for the county farm that the county owns. And it's being recommended that we continue with the contract for 182.23 acres, which the tillable has decreased to 167 acres. Is there a motion to the effect of renewing this contract?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Tillotson?
Yes, how many, we're gonna continue it? We're gonna continue it forever, or what, where's the dead dot?
Kim?
It is for a period of 3 years, so 2025, 26, and 27.
Is there a
And
thought?
when does it come due then?
It is, the due date is, I think it's November. Let me hold on one second. Commissioner, and I will get that for you. The term of the lease is 3 years from January 1, 2025 to December 31, 2027. However, notice to terminate the agreement shall be made no later than November 1st before the expiration of the lease, and that all crops must be harvested prior to the termination of said lease.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is this something we occasionally put out to bids?
So we haven't bid this out in quite some time, and there has been the reason this is coming to you now, you may be wondering, if this took effect of January 1, why is it just coming to us now? Part of the reason for that is in reviewing the prior lease indicated that it would continue year after year until terminated. However, the original contract that we had, there had been a number of acres that had been pulled away from that contract for a number of reasons, which I have outlined in the action request form. For the purposes of the meeting, I can say we did a number of years ago deed a small portion of that property to the elementary school over there. We did utilize a section of the farmland for the detention pond that was required as part of the number of hardscaped areas at the detention center with the new renovations. The USDA did provide us with an updated map earlier this year showing that where the wetlands are and where the tillable acres are located. And then the farmer has also indicated that there are a number of wet grounds, which is different than the wet land, which is making some of the areas untillable. So it took us a while to actually get to the total number of acres that are actually tillable at this time. And so we have done that. I did do some research also on the per acre cost. And the research that I did receive, the feedback I did receive back indicated that that per acre cost is appropriate at this time. I also want to indicate that the current farmer, not only does he till the property, but he does care for the property. He goes through and he is removing a number of the large rocks. Of course, that is to protect his equipment, but it also helps with the farming of the field. He also mows the exterior of the property. He's on a corner, so he cuts down the long grass and everything that is he's not obligated to do, but he does that so that the property in itself continues to look good. Also, this document, when we had it in draft form, we did forward it on to our corporation counsel for review to make sure that because it had not been reviewed in a number of years, that it was updated to meet all the requirements that we need for the protection of the county, and that has been done. So the recommendation is to recommend the Board of Commissioners continue the relationship with Gary Schmitz doing business as Countryside Farms and authorize Chairman Van Doren to sign said cash farm land lease agreement.
Commissioner Van Doren?
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed the contract. I'm not a farmer, so I'm not sure of the 162, but you said you did the research there. And of course, Commissioner Tillison's here. I don't know if he wants to comment. That's,
Well, the $162 an acre is within a range. As far as him gathering up the rocks, he can gather all the rocks he wants, but he don't need to think that somebody's gonna pay him for doing
No,
it. And he realizes that, I think.
yes.
The only thing that really bothers me, and I understand that we gotta change the lease because of the difference in the ground from the detention area. But I would have liked to have seen that being 1 year rather than 3. But I don't know as the squeeze is worth the juice, so just a comment. Thank you.
Any other comments?
and there is no escalation clause in the 3 years moving forward.
Not in the 3 years.
And I conferred with several farmers in my district, and they agree that it's a reasonable value for the lease. And we are also familiar with this farmer, and they have a good reputation, obviously been treating us well. So at this point, I think we need, oh, Terry?
Apparently, as I read this, for the current year, we've already received one payment, correct?
No, I actually, because we were still negotiating the number of acres and this had not come before the board, I did indicate to the farmer that once the contract did become finalized, we would get it to him and then he will return the March payment that was due as well as a signed contract. I just did not think it was fair to have him pay on an agreement that we had not finalized and I was not sure if the commission would move forward on.
To that end, I'd entertain a motion to recommend the contract.
We have a.
Oh, did I do that? All right.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Okay, no further. I wonder, boy, that's a lot of discussion and I don't remember a motion. All right, forgive me. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Administrator Murphy, oh, wait a minute. Now we're at the materials management contract. I jumped ahead one. What did I do with it? And I'm sure Commissioner Stimson may want to offer some comment on this as it's his committee, but there are required changes to the Solid Waste Management Act, et cetera. And pursuant to those changes, there's grant money available. And the purpose of this request is to authorize the county administrator to sign the materials management planning grant agreement to the amount of $67,725.92 for the period ending December 7th, 2026. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Support.
Any comment? Commissioner Stimson, you want to offer any insights? Okay. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next, we have the contract for representations of probate juvenile Lenawee court cases. Administrator Murphy.
So as you're aware, we currently have contracts both for the criminal side and the family side and the public defender's office. It's become apparent that the current contract that we have does not cover all the services that we would like for it to cover on the probate and family court side of the house, so to speak. So the Public Defender's Office has provided us with an updated contract so that it expands to cover all of the responsibilities that they are looking for those attorneys to cover in the conflict cases. So it expands the services expectation of the attorneys to include delinquency hearings and a multitude of other probate court matters. It also extends the contract from a 1-year period to a 2-year period. Because this contract was originally vetted through our corporation counsel and it was approved, we did not forward this one back through because all of the changes that were required as part of the original contract were present. And there were just a few minor changes to expand the services and the duration of terms in the contract before you. So what we're looking for today is to recommend approval of the revised contract for representation of the probate/juvenile Lenawee County Court cases contract to the Board of Commissioners.
I have a
And-
motion.
Sorry, and Attorney McFarland is here in the event you have any questions.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, sir. The next issue before us is to obtain approval of a contract with the Lenawee. Nope, I grabbed the wrong one. Oh, no, I got the right one. For reserves and deputies to perform police services and crowd control during the upcoming Lenawee County Fair. Is there a motion to that recommend? This was a motion?
Daley. Jim. Van Doren.
Jim?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was seconded? Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next, it looks like we have a necessary upgrade to the Lenawee County Cisco Call Manager server, and if we don't, there's a number of bad things that are likely to happen. I can detail them if anybody wishes, but in the end, this is a request to recommend approval for fund allocation to replace the current end-of-life Cisco Call Manager server with a new supported Cisco Unified Communications Manager solution, the amount of $23,440.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Matter carries. Next item is a matter that we deliberated again at Criminal Justice last week, I think. Commissioner Collins, did you wish to lead a little bit of discussion on this?
Well, I'll lead some very quickly. There's been further information come forward that's caused some concern about further information requested, and I'm going to request a motion that this be returned to committee and request that it be a committee of the whole.
That's a motion.
That's a motion.
Is there
Support.
support? Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
And could you give us a little background on why we're doing that?
Well, there was an article received. There was an article received talking about maybe further application of the flock system, which has caused some concern among some of the commissioners. That one looks like a further in-depth investigative service order, but two is not related to us at the previous meeting. And I think some time is needed for commissioners to gather more information about that and develop any questions or comments that may be necessary.
And I would add to that I found an article from Axon, who currently furnishes our tasers and I think our body cams. And their recommendations is that we have some reporting with respect to the usage of this device, number of detections, number of hot plate hits, number of queries conducted by users, number of arrests, these kinds of things. And that's coming from the Major Cities Chiefs Association as a recommendation, because some of these things are controversial and their guidance is meant to be conservative to make sure that if legal challenges come forward, we've taken appropriate steps to protect ourselves. And I think that would be reasonable for us to put in a complete policy to that end. So it's been moved and second. Is there any other discussion? Jim?
Does the sheriff have any comment?
So my comment would be that I've seen the articles that you talked about. I saw the article, and we're looking at transparency. We always do. It's part of what we do, and accountability. So when we talk about I've read the same articles, and so between now and when it goes back to criminal justice, there's going to be more articles coming out, and there's going to be more articles even after that. So my only thing that I would like to explain to the commissioners and to the public is that we're big on transparency and accountability. So we will make sure that we're auditing this system. It's going to be, or it is in our policy that we will audit this system. We will make sure that this system, this flock system, is used for the purpose that it's intended to use. We don't plan on doing any surveillance with this system. We're not entering into it as a surveillance system. Again, it is a system that we enter information into, and then it tells us if it sees that information in there. So, and then we will also make sure that we include the uses and the auditing and all of that in a year-end report. So myself and my captain, we've been talking about this, about a year-end report. You saw one from our corrections services. It was very detailed and very good. And we plan on doing the same thing at the year end with law enforcement. So we want to make sure that the public is aware of all of that. I saw the same thing. I saw comments on in both directions. I saw comments about, well, good, now we can use it for speeders. We're not using the system for speeders. This is not to catch people speeding. This is to catch major crime suspects, people who do things horrible that we want to make sure that we can stop, and we have all the tools within our ability to do that. But we're going to make sure that we do this responsibly. We don't just go off and do something because other people are doing it. And that's evident by how many flock systems that are out there that we have not, this is our first bite at the apple to do this, because we wanted to make sure that all of your concerns and all of the public concerns are being addressed already. So that would be my only comment, is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. The internet's not going to help you. The internet is not your friend, and it's not going to give you any more information than you probably have already. And we're going to make sure that we are responsible. We're going to make sure that we're accountable and that it's transparent.
Yes, Commissioner Van Dorn.
And well, first of all, if we have this meeting, if it passes, you'll have the people from Flock here.
I'm sorry, say that again.
If this passes, you'll have the people from the company here to help with.
Can Flock come
If
back?
it goes back to criminal justice,
Yeah.
we'll do our best to get them back here again. I don't know what their schedule is. Obviously, summer is pretty tight, and they want to assist us. They were here at the last criminal justice. They're here anytime that we want them to be here. But I'm sure that at some point it's going to be more difficult to get them here.
Understood.
So continuing on, sorry, Mr. Chairman, but continuing on, we have postponed the 4th of July, the meeting, because of the 4th of July holiday. So I would suggest that we have a special meeting. I mean, I don't think the sheriff wants to wait 60 days. So I don't know if we can schedule that today, or if the administrator can poll the commissioners and get back with the sheriff and we can schedule a special meeting.
I think if the decision is to have a special meeting, I need to go back and look at the use of this room more so than individual calendars, because this room is used a lot for all of the county meetings that are recorded. So we would not only need to look to see when is the room available, and how does that match with your schedules. So other than that, it would be the August, that first Thursday in August.
I agree. We don't want to wait that long. We have a motion on the floor. Do we need to amend that, or can we simply, let's agree to refer it back to criminal justice, then the chairman can then simply
Call the meeting.
pick a find a reasonable date and do that. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Fine.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Krasny?
I just add that the flock people could join remotely and that they necessarily wouldn't have to be here in person, which would be a lot easier for them, I'm sure.
And I would comment, this in no way reflects anything but trust and respect for the service you provide for us. We're not questioning that, but there's enough articles out there to suggest it makes sense to have a clear policy going forward that we just like a little more time to talk about that. So,
All right, thank you.
okay, thank you, sir. Then we need a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Matter carries. And now we have before us a change order for some work that is taking place at the Human Services Building. Looks like there's a few extras, about $35,763. So the recommendation is to authorize Commissioner Van Dorn to sign the change order in the amount of $35,763 with funding to come from Fund 502. I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Matter carries. Next, we have a no other ways and means business. Is there? Does anybody have any other ways and means business? If not, we have a request to enter into closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act for discussions regarding the purchase or lease of real property. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there a second?
Support.
It's moved and seconded. I think we need a roll call vote for this. If we'd read the roll, please.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Daly.
Yes.
Commissioner Krasny.
Yes.
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
Commissioner Stimson. Commissioner Tilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Dorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Unks.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco. Yes. 9 yeas.
Okay, we will head to executive session. Okay, we're back in session here. Are there any additional items for the consent agenda? General public comment on the Ways and Means meeting. Seeing none, any commissioner comment? Commissioner Van Doren,
I was just noticing,
microphone.
sorry, I was just noticing, that our county clerk is 40 years this year, and I think we can all say thank you for your 40 years of dedication. You're just doing a tremendous job over there, and we certainly appreciate it. So congratulations.
Started when you were 6, but
Yeah. If there any additional commissioner comment, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?